What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Time Podcast, and it is now time for our NFL Power Rankings. We are starting off with part one. This will go from 32 to 16. I've got my list. Daryl's got his list. Ramon has his list. We are starting off with the worst team in the league. Who's going to have the worst record in the league this year? And for me, at number 32, I have the New Orleans Saints at number 32. I think Tyler Shuck's going to be the quarterback. They're still in salary cap hell. I don't see New Orleans being very good at all this year. I know there's a couple teams in there that could probably be worse, but for me, it's just like there's nothing to be optimistic about in New Orleans for me. So that's why I have them at number 32. Last year, I had the Panthers at number 32. I've got my list from last year as well, but I've got New Orleans at 32 this year.
Second that motion. I've got New Orleans as a 32 as well. When you're talking about three quarterbacks who probably wouldn't be on a starting roster in probably 20 of the other 32 teams. Tyler Shuck, they went and got this kid out of Cincinnati. I think he's like 28 years old already. I don't know what New Orleans is doing. You got a defense that's kind of peeled off a little bit over the last couple of years. I just don't see New Orleans doing much in this season. I got them with 6 wins, and I would agree with you 100%, Isaiah. Their quarterback position is just not something to marvel at on how weak it is.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Ramon?
I got number 32, the Saints also. I think they were handicapped and limited by, the cap situation. I'm not sure what they're doing offensively and defensively. Unlike a lot of people, I kind of understand that draft pick at quarterback. Not to say I think it was the greatest, but I can understand it a little bit. Mm-hmm. That guy I think he has a real high ceiling. I also think he has a real low floor. Yeah. And that's both dangerous. But I do think that, the ability to change the roster was limited through the cap. So I think they're going to be, pretty bad for maybe a couple years.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree with that. At number 31, I've got the Cleveland Browns at 31. I don't think Cleveland's going to be good. I think the quarterback play is going to be a question. I think you're going to see Joe Flacco in at some point. You're going to see Shedeur in at some point. You're going to see Gabriel in at some point. I think it's just going to rotate around, and they're never going to really have a direction. Myles Garrett may give them a couple extra wins, or maybe just like 2 wins or something like that. Their defense is really good, but I think other than that, it's like, the defense can only do so much. At some point, the defense is out on the field so much because you keep punting the ball, the defense is going to get tired. The other team's going to score. I mean, that's just how the game goes at some point if you don't have a good offense, and that's kind of what I have here with Cleveland. I know there's another team that people could probably say is below them, but I have no real belief in Cleveland this year, so I've got them at 31.
I've got the Jets at 31. I think the Jets, with their quarterback situation, I think the young man from Ohio State has shown kind of who he is. Not a bad player, but also he has a toe injury. Their team is in flux. What they did with the Aaron Rodgers debacle the last 2 years, there's going to be a hangover from that perspective. Their receiving room is weak. And you've got a quarterback who you signed to a 2-year deal, really a 1-year deal, as a look and let's see. I don't think the Jets get out of their own way this year. I think they're going to struggle all season long, and I think it's because of that debacle with the Aaron Rodgers thing. I got them at 31.
Interesting. Ramon?
At 31, I got the Cleveland Browns. And the only reason they're at 31 is because the Saints are as bad as they are, because they would be 32. I think the Cleveland Browns got a clown show in the quarterback room right now. Not saying that the quarterbacks are a clown, but what they did in bringing in all those guys, like it's got to be some kind of disadvantage for everyone with what's going on at the quarterback position. That's going to be a distraction. 2, they lost. Their defense isn't going to be as good as we thought. Yeah. They got my man at corner who's dynamite. They got the edge rusher who's dynamite, but they lost their 2 best linebackers. Jeremiah is out for the whole 2025 season due to a neck injury, and my man Jordan Hicks just retired. So, you lose both your inside backers. I wonder if how bad, and you lose leadership on that defense too. Like, yeah, you got a great leader in the edge rusher, but Jordan was a great leader,
Mhm.
uh, Super Bowl champion, etc. So I'm struggling to see the Browns producing anything. That added on, they got a rookie running back that just got out of jail who they may not sign. Like, it's a lot going on in that camp.
Yeah, I want to go back to Daryl real quick. I think New York at 31 is really, really low. And I think for me, maybe it's because I'm very high on the Aaron Glenn hire. I think Glenn's going to be, I think, if they give Glenn time to just coach, I think he could be very good. I think he can turn it around for them. I think Justin Fields, I kind of agree with you in the sense of I think he's kind of reached where he's going to be. I think that ship has sailed on what he could be. I think he looked really well in Pittsburgh, and I hope he can convert that over to New York. I think there's worse teams than them this year at 31 compared to New York. I've actually have New York significantly high, not like really high, like top 15, but I have them, I want to say 10 spots up compared to the 31 spot. So I'm kind of curious.
Well, here's what I would say. What did the Jets add to the team last year that was a failure? What did they add?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, you got a coach, and I think Aaron Glenn's going to be a good coach.
Hmm.
I think Aaron Glenn's going to get some lumps on him this season
Hmm.
because yeah, you had a okay draft, but what's your standout for the Jets? And again, I'm not asking you. You've got your quarterback who who's going to be mid. You've got a banged up running back. You've got no crazy addition to your offensive line or defensive line.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see the Jets being where you would think they were. So, but again, I got them at 31. 31. I know we got a lot more to cover, so we can go to the next one.
All right. At number 30, number 30, I have the Tennessee Titans. I think, these bottom three teams are interchangeable for me. If the Titans were the worst team in the league, I wouldn't look at it and be like, oh my goodness, So I've got the Titans at 30. I think Cam Ward's going to be good, but he's not going to be good this year. It's going to be a rough year for Cam Ward and the Titans. There's not a lot for me to say here. I think these three teams are worse than everybody else going forward. I think there's a significant gap when it comes to Tennessee, Cleveland, and New Orleans. Everybody else is definitely better. I feel like for the Titans, there's nothing there that really interests me. So I've got them at 30.
My 30th is Cleveland for everything that Ramon said. I think that New Orleans, the Jets, and Cleveland on this next team are in a very, very similar boat. Their key is quarterback, and none of them have a fighting chance. So Ramon said it best. I've got them as 30.
Ramon.
At 30, I got the Tennessee Titans.
Oh my goodness, me and Ramon are on it today, huh?
I think they upgraded
Is
their
nothing wrong
offense.
with both guys being wrong out of three. There's nothing wrong
Hey,
with
man,
that.
I'm always right some of the time.
Me and
I
Ramon
think the
are on the
Titans,
same page right now.
the Titans, they did some upgrade on the offensive line. I think is going to be good, but Cam Ward. He's an aggressive rookie, so I think he's going to look sometimes marvelous and a showstopper, and then sometimes he's going to look like a rookie, and it's going to be a detriment to the team. I think that they're going to have the biggest jump depending on what they do next year in the draft and free agency of any team. Because I do think Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback. But I just think this year right now they're going to struggle a little bit.
Gotcha. Now, when I say this next team, I'm gonna go ahead and take this jersey off because a lot of people are gonna be mad at me. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off for this segment. I've got the Colts at 28. I've got the Colts at 29 this year. I had the Colts very high last year. I had the Colts at 14 last year. Literally middle of the pack. I thought AR was gonna have a really good year. And then he got hurt. Flacco was Flacco. Yeah, Flacco played for him then for a little bit. I've got the Colts low, right? I've heard the training camp reports. It's the offense is not, the offense is kind of all over the place. The defense will be really good, but they're not better than the Texans. They're I would say Jacksonville's slightly better than them right now, and then they'll be better than the Titans, but they could be worse than the Titans. You know, they could lose to Tennessee. I wouldn't. I could see them losing to Tennessee at Tennessee this year for sure. I don't really know what to think of the Colts yet until they're out there on the field. They've got all the pieces in the they if they had a good quarterback this year, if they had any resemblance of a good quarterback, I think they could be contenders, to be in the playoffs, maybe get to the divisional, but they just don't have that quarterback play. They've had the pieces for so long, right? They traded for Buckner. They upgraded the secondary really well this offseason, but it's all going to come down to quarterback play. And we just had Matt Taylor on the show. Matt Taylor kind of gave us his pitch on both guys, why AR could be really good, why Daniel Jones could be really good. But I think the big thing is going to be AR, right? And I think the big conversation with Colts fans this year has been, and even last year, is you just got to let him play, let him figure this out. And I kind of feel the same way. I think bringing in Daniel Jones was an okay decision, but I think AR should start, whether he's the best quarterback in camp or not. If you keep pulling him and playing him and pulling him and playing him, he's never going to actually grow, I think. I think the Panthers did the right thing. They took Bryce Young out and then they put him back in, and they never pulled him back out. They have to let AR stay in these games and play. But then that goes to AR being healthy as well. So I think the Colts, quarterback is the biggest thing, and all the teams that I have on this list have quarterback issues for right now. So I've got the Colts at 29.
My piece is Tennessee. You've got Cam Ward, who is going to have a lot of growing pains. They got a new coaching staff. There's a lot of turmoil. Remember, they jumped off of three quarterbacks back to back years, right? You got Levis, who just had his injury situation, excuse me. So he's out for the season. Now Cam Ward is definitely your guy, so there's no doubt about that, right? But I just don't think that. I think the cover is bare in Tennessee. I don't think they've got a lot of talent at all, and I see them absolutely being the bottom team in the AFC South without a doubt. So they're my number 29, and they're definitely worse than the Colts for sure.
Ramon?
29 is the New York Giants.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think they're gonna be like one dimensional. So I think that they're gonna have a strong, maybe a top 10, top 15 defensive unit. I think their young talent, Abdul Carter, the Lawrence kid, they're gonna be significant. They're gonna help them out. But I just think they're gonna struggle offensively. I'm looking at their quarterback room, and you got the young kid who I think is dynamic, but he's not ready. Uh, I think Russell Wilson is past his time, and the other kid, what's his name from Florida
Crab
State,
legs, crab
Crab
legs.
Legs. I mean, I like him on your roster, and I like him in your locker room because I think he
Yeah.
brings people together. But I don't like him throwing the football.
He's a fair guy. He gives it to both teams. He's
Yes,
balanced.
equal opportunity. You have a pass. You have a pass. So I think that they're gonna be really, really good defensively and really, really bad offensively.
Gotcha. And you know what? That leads me into number 28, and I have the New York Giants. I think the Giants, I think the Giants are a team that could actually, I think they could be better than the Cowboys if they can get it going early. I think Dayball's a really good head coach. Malik Neighbors is going to be a top 5 receiver in the league in a couple of years. I'm pretty confident in that as well. I think New York can be good. I think Wilson, we're going to see, but I mean, it's going to come down to quarterback play, which is why I have them so low right now. But I think New York definitely has the possibility to be better than Dallas. If they want to be, they've got to get it going pretty early on in the year. But for right now, I don't know what the quarterback play is looking like. I got him at 28. Nothing much more to say. We'll see how Russell Wilson does, and I do like the Jackson Dart pick. It has grown on me a little bit, so I've got them at number 28.
I've got 28 at Carolina. I've got
Ooh,
the fighting Carolina Panthers. I think Bryce Young showed last year growth. I think he's going to show growth again this year. However, they still don't have the roster around him from a receiving core, and also, but they've got Chuba Hubbard, a good running back. But I think they're going to be better than last year. And Carolina in that division, because you got Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and New Orleans. I think they've got an opportunity to win about 7 or 8 games if things go right for them.
interesting. Ramon, who do you got at 2028?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
Got them at 28. I'm just not high. I'm just not high on them. What's their overrated quarterback name again?
Trevor
Sunshine,
Lawrence.
sunshine.
Man, I
Sunshine.
swear they are so high on this kid, man. They give him every excuse possible. Uh,
so
why he
like,
got
so like, so like Herbert, right?
yeah, yeah. He
Is that
like
is that a
Herbert.
kind of
No,
combination?
there's a
He like
difference.
Herbert
Herbert,
light. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? He like
Herbert's light years
Diet
better.
Herbert. You know,
Herbert's
they
light
give
years better,
they give him
regardless of the
all this type of
players.
things, and I just can't see them winning with him. I want to see what they do with the Hunter kid. Are they gonna use him in certain ways? Are they gonna try to overuse him? I'm just not really big on what they're gonna do or how they're gonna do it, and then I just can't see them any higher with Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, number 27. I've got the Carolina Panthers at 27. I think Bryce Young's starting to find that footing in Carolina. I think the Panthers, they're not complete yet, obviously. I think they made the right pick at receiver, the kid from Arizona. I think the Panthers got something going now. I think they've got a shot to be okay. We'll see how they do this year. There's not much I got to say there. I've got the Panthers at 27. I think now I'm at the point where it's like these teams have okay quarterbacks. Now it's really about the rest of the team, or their quarterback can be good, but there's still just that question of like, can he take that next step? And I think that's kind of why I have the Panthers slotted here at 27.
My 27 is fighting Giants. They've got a coach on the hot seat who's a good offensive mind. They've got a great receiver coming back from last year. Yeah, you're going to have Russell Wilson starting off the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson Dart comes in probably between week 5 and week 7. You got an opportunity for a young guy. He's dynamic, and I just believe that the Giants are going to have a lot of pressure on them to try and win now, because I don't think Dable makes it out of this season if there's no significant movement with regard to the Giants and their wins and losses. So I think Russell Wilson starts off the season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson Darts ends the season, in my opinion. So I've got them, Giants, at number 27. Go Giants.
All right.
The Giants got a hard, tough schedule, boy.
Yeah. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. 27 for me is the Indianapolis Colts. Originally, I thought I was going to have them a little bit higher, but I went to training camp a couple of days, and I don't like the reports that are being put out there about their offense.
Same.
Hold on, but when I saw it,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm thinking different in some senses. All right, but I'm gonna first talk about that defense. They look quick to the ball defensively. I was shocked. I turned to the other coaches and said, "Man, do you see how quick they are to the ball?" And so that gave me some like, okay, that looks good. But the difference, the problem with me is it looked like from an outside view looking in, when each quarterback they had in, especially the two that's fighting for a job, it looks like they scripted their plays completely different, a whole different style. Going up top a lot with Jones, RPOing a lot with AR, and so I can see how the offense can look confusing because they both getting one reps. One goes with the ones in one segment, one goes with the twos, and then they'll flip it. So as an
No, they're
offense,
alternating. They're alternating, is what you're saying?
yeah, they're alternating. So now it's kind of like bipolarism. Like, okay, we're going vertical a lot. We're going downfield a lot here. Now we're going RPO, and now he's with the ones, and he's with the twos, and he's with the twos, and he's with the ones. So I don't know the cohesiveness if it's there yet. I don't know when it will get there. I'm pretty sure it'll get there, and they'll narrow things down when they decide, hey, this guy's going to be our one, and he's going to be our two.
Yeah.
But I think they're looking at each one of them and saying, okay, this is what you do well. Let me see if you really do it well, so I can start you.
I think I think Jones could be. I think Jones. I think Jones will be the starter, and I think Matt Taylor made a pretty good point when he was on with us. He said this is the best receiving room Daniel Jones has had in his career. And I agree with that. I mean, other than Malik Neighbors, right? But I think overall, this is a really good receiving room for Daniel Jones. I think I have the Colts really low, and I understand that, but I think it's just a matter of the quarterback situation is so weird. Daniel Jones is not viewed upon highly by a lot of people, including myself. AR has health issues. Um, so for me, I think it's just I gotta see him on the field, and maybe this changes my complete thought. We may get to week 4 and they're 2-2, and I'm like, you know what? This team may have a shot to win the division because realistically, it's the AFC South. Anybody could win this division other than Tennessee. So I'm not. I have the Colts very low, but I think that's just me being a slight Colts fan. So I'm trying to not have my expectations too high for them. Daryl, what are your overall thoughts on Indianapolis this year?
I like Daniel Jones coming into a new situation. He's not in the big market. He's not in New York. You think about this. He was, I think he was a top 5 pick when he came out of Duke. The general manager says, "I'm going to show you how smart I am." I think Daniel Jones is athletic. I think he can throw the ball. I think he has more talent around him this season than he's had before. And by all accounts, what I see is he's a humble guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones winds up maybe a top 15 quarterback this season with that receiving core and that great running back that he's got.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have had the Colts higher. They've got Taylor, they've got Pittman, Tyler Warren. I think is going to be pretty good. Maybe I have them a little too low. Ramon, what were you going to say?
Three observations that I saw that shocked me, and when I was at camp, their receivers dropped a lot of passes, more than I expected from a group that's that good. All
Hmm.
right, that was one. Two, AR and the RPO and play action looked really, really solid.
Okay.
Really, really. Now he didn't look solid over the top, but that was day one when I saw him throwing deep.
Okay.
Um, Jones looked like what I would consider a safe bet. He didn't like wow me doing anything, but he's kind of like he didn't like make me go damn
He
doing
didn't went to
anything.
bed either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you saw some really good things with AR, and then you saw some things like okay, he still needs to work on this. He still needs to work on this. Uh, so it's going to be interesting.
The Colts will be on in this house, so I will be watching them with a lot of intent. I think for AR, Matt Taylor said it when he was on, right? He's got to be able to make these short to medium throws that are easy throws, right? I think I watched a lot of film on
Tight
him
end,
last year.
the tight end position.
He couldn't hit the tight end inside the hashes if I remember what Matt said. So it's like if he can make these easy throws, these check down throws, like it could be a way better season for the Colts if his percentage goes up when it comes to accuracy. Let's move on. We are at number 26, and at number 26, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Kind of the same thing what Ramon said. I've never been a big Trevor Lawrence guy. So I just don't see it happening this year for them. I think their management, their ownership is just I think they're comedic, to be honest. I think Shad Khan is just a hilarious owner. I just don't buy the Jacksonville Jaguars whatsoever. They're just a laughing stock of an organization. So I've got them at 26.
At my 26, I got the Raiders. They've got a good quarterback coming, obviously Geno coming from Seattle. They've got an energetic 73-year-old coach who acts more like he's 55. But I think there's going to be some karma that's going to hit Oakland Raiders,
Who's
Las
their
Vegas
head
Raiders this year.
coach?
Um, Pete Carroll. And here's the thing, right? I think there's going to be some karma that's going to hit the Raiders. They cut Christian Wilkins after one season, signing him to a 5-year, $100+ million deal because he refused to go get cut on his foot for the second time. He wanted to rehab that. So right now, Christian Wilkins is going toe to toe with the league and trying to recoup his $35 million back. Would not surprise me that one he wins that he wins that arbitration piece. The other part of that is when you do that to a player after 1 year, because he refused to go under the needle again, it wouldn't shock me that the Raiders kind of fall off. Yeah, they looked like they were a team that was up and coming last year, but it just would not shock me. Yeah, you signed Max Crosby, but who's on that other end for you, right? So I've got the Raiders at 26, and for me, I'm not a Raider fan, but I hope we'll have a lot of bad luck for what they did to Christian Wilkins. I would love to get into the union piece of that, but I won't right now. So Raiders at 26 for me.
Ramon.
Carolina Panthers at 26.
Okay. We kind of
I
all got
think,
the same teams right now, just different spots.
yeah, I think, Bryce Young definitely improving. I would like to see if that can carry over to a new season, or was it just a fluke? They added some pieces. First round pick McMillan. I'm not sure if I'm high on him or not at the next level. They just seem blah to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just here. I'm not really trying to progress. I'm not really trying to. I'm treading water. So I think they're going to be, a team that at times shows some promise, but more times shows that they're not bad. They're just mediocre. So that's why I got them at 26.
All right, number 25. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 25. I don't buy Aaron Rodgers. I know Mike Tomlin is a guy that can, I mean, he just doesn't know what a losing season is. I could be completely wrong about this, but I just don't really. I think it just comes back down to quarterback play, and I don't know if Pittsburgh can get it done with Rodgers under center. This is a significantly better team, I feel like, than New York, but there's something telling me there's something where I'm just like, I don't buy Pittsburgh. I know they got Metcalf now, but honestly, I don't think Metcalf's ever been. I don't think elite. I don't want to say he's not elite, but I don't think he's great. Ramon, you get what I'm trying to get at too with Metcalf. I don't think it's going to work out that well. Like, I don't know how well he's going to fit next to Rodgers. Like, I think Pickens would have been fine because Pickens was doing very well in that offense. I don't know how well Metcalf will do. I think, I think Steelers fans are very high on this season. I am not very high on Pittsburgh. I've got them at 25.
25 is the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of the reasons we just spoke about. I just think that the Colts are going to fall off from last year a little bit, just because of the upheaval, and also their general manager is on the chopping block, right? Their coach has some urgency towards him as well. But I think that tight end they drafted in the first round is going to be a big target for whoever the starting quarterback is. And to that point, if it is AR, I've got the Colts at 25, but I could see him jumping 7 or 8 spots. If AR is running, he stays healthy, he finds that tight end over the middle. Yeah, and then think about it. You still got that Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, man, and this dude is into his prime. So if things for the Colts to be better than this number, I would say your dynamic young quarterback, your dynamic young tight end, that can equate to some better things. But right now, I just see them as being a middle of the pack piece with regard to their division and the Indianapolis Colts.
Ramon?
I got at number 25 the New England Patriots.
Okay.
I think that they're going to be pretty decent and gradually get better. I like their head coach hire. I think he's a strong, hard-nosed, fundamentally sound, disciplined, accountable coach. I just need to give him time. I think their quarterback had great growth, and I think that he's going to take the next step, and they can surprise me and be a lot higher. I'm just being patient with them and their process and their program, so that's why I'm putting them at 25. But I think that they're going to be a pretty good ball team in the future. And that head coach, I can't remember where he played his college ball at, but I do believe he played at a university that produced very smart individuals.
I tell you, boy, this homerism just has to stop, man. Hey, give me your 2 initials. Give me your I-O. Gotcha.
Well, that moves on to 24, and I'm gonna follow Ramon here at 24. I do have the New England Patriots, and when the Cowboys got rid of Mike McCarthy, I was like, man, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel, Mike Vrabel. I wanted Vrabel or Aaron Glenn, and then we hired. I'm not even gonna say his name, who we got, but I really like Mike Vrabel. I like what New England is starting to build. I think bringing in Diggs is a good little rental receiver for right now. Just to give I can't Drake May some offense, some weapons. I think the offensive lineman they drafted this year in the first round is a great addition as well. I think there's a lot of promising things in New England, and I think them and the Jets, will see which one of those two are worse. I think the Dolphins could also be in that conversation of not being that good either. I think this is the Bills division. Everybody else is fighting for second, third, and fourth. I just happen to have the Patriots lower than the other two in this moment. But I could see the Patriots. I think this is one of those teams that could shock a lot of people. Patriots, Steelers, and even the Colts and Panthers. It's like I could see them going over my expectations this year. But for now, I'm gonna put them where I think they could be in the worst case scenario. So I've got the Patriots at 24.
My 24 is ATL. You got Bajana Robinson,
Wow.
who's probably going to play very well this year. My concern is how does Michael Penix play? Right, you've got Kirk Cousins is still on the roster. There's going to be a faction, even if it's ATL, the second chocolate city. There's going to be a lot of conversation about as soon as Penix maybe struggle, does does the Boo Birds and the get Cousins in there? You pay him all this money, all these things. I think that's going to be a challenge. Now, if it levels out, yeah, they could be higher. But right now, Penix played pretty well the second half of the season last year. There's tape on him now. Let's see how he stands up to that deal. I think their defensive backfield is horrific. And I think they've got to score a lot of points. And I'm not sure if Penix is going to be able to do that for them, along with that tight end they got from Florida, right? This is a make or break year for him as well. And if he doesn't play well over the middle of the field, like we talked about, I could see them being right in that jumbo number 24. Again, about 7 wins. There's been a lot of teams in that 6 to 9 win, and you have a big game here, a big game there. It could change, but I think Atlanta falls in that number 24 for me.
Interesting. Man, I've got Atlanta really high. Okay. Go
Okay.
ahead, Ramon.
Number 24, I got the New York Jets. I am higher than most people on those guys. I think Justin Fields showed a lot of promise at Pittsburgh, but just got caught up in the business of football. Uh, and so I have promise. I also love the head coach, and I like his hire for offensive coordinator and bringing him over from bringing the pass game coordinator over from Detroit, who's going to add something to their offense because Detroit had a very creative offense and it fit their quarterback. And I think that this is going to be the first time that Justin gets into a offense that's going to fit him. He's got a dynamic receiver that he threw to in college. He's got a tight end who's the number 2 that he threw to in college. I think that this is a place where he's comfortable. Do I think he's a top 10 quarterback? No, but I think that he'll be a top 10 comfort quarterback because he's in places where, hey, the head coach kind of believes in me. The offense coordinator is going to put things to fit me. I'm throwing to familiar faces. So I think that that's going to play a big role in his success. The problem is first couple games are pretty darn hard. So I'm worried about that. Was worried about the toe injury. Not really worried about that. He came back the next day, went through 7-on-7, went through drills. I saw him hopping around, putting pressure, applying force to the ground on that toe. It's a non-big toe injury. So I'm not too worried about that. I just think if they can weather the storm in the beginning, his comfort will continue to rise, and I think that they'll be a pretty decent team.
Interesting. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. At number 23, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I think Geno Smith is going to help them find some course correction here. I think he'll be a solid placeholder until they kind of figure out what they want to do at QB. I'm not really high on Pete Carroll. I'll give him some credit, obviously, for the coach that he is. So I think I just kind of have them here. Maybe I should have put them lower, but they're just kind of in this spot for me. I think the other teams that I have below them, I just find worse. I think I like that they brought in Geno Smith. I don't think they had a bad draft. There's just not really a lot I have to say for them. I just kind of have them here at 23.
23 is Jacksonville. I think they're in one of the weaker divisions in NFL with the Colts, with Houston, with Tennessee. I think there's some opportunity for some wins there. That division is always tight. I think there's a new energy in Jacksonville with Hunter coming on board. Not sure what he's going to do, obviously, but I think that Sunshine is not crazy high on my list, but I think he's a better player than he's shown. And I think they have an opportunity to win a couple of extra games this year and be around that 7 to 8 win season this year, because that division, I think beyond Houston, it can be up for grabs. I think Houston wins that division, but I think Jacksonville makes a little bit of noise. And I think Sunshine is on the clock as well. I mean, he signed that big contract 2 years ago. And I think there's pressure on him right now to perform. And if he's healthy, an opportunity to be pretty decent. And I mean decent by 7 or 8 wins. Not a playoff team, but pretty decent.
Gotcha. Ramon, number 23 is what we're on.
The Las Vegas Raiders at 23.
All right, we're back on track. 7 teams here.
You know what? I think they're like a mix. Like, man, you could be good, but unfortunately, like you're in the AFC West, right? So you got the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers, could be
you got the great Justin Herbert you're going against, man. It's going to be tough for him.
Could be some problems over there. You know what I'm saying?
Man, why are we taking this as why is my word gospel? I'm just
so you may be able to beat the Chargers, but the Chiefs and Broncos will give you problems. But nah. So I think they got a great mix. You got Pete Carroll, defensive mind, great on that side of the ball, and then you go out and you get Chip Kelly, who is better as an offensive coordinator than he is as a head coach. He's going to put you in situations that you're going to be like, how do I defend this? Why do I defend this? Where do I go? So I think that's a great mix. You got the young man that they drafted at running back. I'm pretty sure that, Chip's going to get really creative with getting in the ball. He's already convinced him that your stance is terrible. You need to stand like this. So the guy's open to listen. So I think that they're going to be pretty solid. Unfortunately, they're in an area where solid ain't good enough.
Yeah, I think the Raiders. Ramon, you probably agree with me. I think they could snag a win off Kansas City. They can snag a win off Denver. They could definitely they could make this division way tougher than we think it's gonna be, right? And that's what I said. As Kansas City is getting worse, I think. And the other teams in this division are getting better. And yeah, the Raiders are solid, and I think that's enough to disrupt Denver. It's enough to disrupt Kansas City, and it's enough to disrupt the Chargers as well. I agree with you on that front for sure. At number 22, that's where we're at now. I've got the New York Jets, and I think Ramon said it for me best when he said New York, right? I like Aaron Glenn. I like Justin Fields in this situation as well. Garrett Wilson's very good. They've probably got the second best corner in the league in New York. I think Patrick Surtain is the best corner in the league, but I think Sauce Gardner, whatever they call him, I think he's the second best corner in the league without question. But I don't think it'll be enough. I think they will be better than New England. But them and Miami are going to be close, right? I don't see Miami being that good if Tua can't stay healthy, but I just think in general, I think Miami's very overrated. I could see New York slipping into the wild card if they can be better than Miami. Clearly, I don't have them above Miami in this rankings, but it's not by much. So I've got New York at 22.
My 22 is the New England Patriots. I think Drake May is going to grow again this year. They drafted an offensive tackle in the first round, big man Will Campbell. But the thing for me is Ramondre Stevenson's been struggling to hold on to the ball the last couple of years. They drafted this kid out of this school in the Midwest. Forget the name of the school. It doesn't really matter. Travion Henderson. To me,
Don't act brand new, man.
To
Oh,
me,
wait.
Travion Henderson was the best running back in the draft this past season. I think he can play. I think he's going to take on over the second half of the season. You got a young Drake May. You got a coach we just talked about who's solid. He's a no nonsense guy. He's not up for the shenanigans. And don't be surprised if New England makes a whole lot of people feel uncomfortable in that division they're in this upcoming season. As long as Drake May continues his growth and what he showed from last year.
Ramon, you're up. We're at 22.
I got 22. I got the Miami Dolphins. I think that
Yes.
they have
Love it.
I love their receiving core. I love the addition of the gentleman that they just got. It's going to be a good number 3 receiver. Uh, if my man can stay healthy at quarterback, they could be really, really dangerous. Unfortunately, I do not like their offensive line. And that's going to be an issue. So it's one of those things like, hey, if they can keep him safe or kind of safe, they can be pretty decent. Run game, was it Devon? I think that he's pretty.
HN.
Okay, yeah, that's how you pronounce it, right?
Yeah.
I think I actually like him.
Speed guy.
Great assets. They're vertically they can get with you from every position. It can be a house call.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can block it or not. So they could be a lot higher if they could block it. So, but I'm putting it right around the middle of the road. So I got them at 22.
All right. We're at number 21. This next team is going to be at the bottom of the division. I've got the Minnesota Vikings at 21. So I had the Vikings really low last year. So last year I had the Vikings at 30. This year I've got them at 21. I could be completely wrong about Minnesota, right? A lot of these teams that I have, from 29, which is Indianapolis, all the way up to this point, which is 21, I think they could be better than what I have them at. But it's like there's too many questions for me to say that that's where they could be. I think that's their best case scenario. And I think Minnesota, they've got the best receiver in the league. I think the big thing just it's going to be on JJ McCarthy. How is he going to go in this offense? Can he get it going early, or is Minnesota going to be in a situation where they have to win a certain amount of games in a row at the end of the year to even sniff the playoffs, or just whatever they have to do? I don't see it this year for Minnesota. I think Jefferson's going to be very frustrated this year dealing with the rookie quarterback because he's basically a rookie quarterback. So I've got Minnesota at number 21.
I got Seattle at 21. Seattle's going to be a little bit of influx. Yeah, you got Darnold coming over from Minnesota. So you say you solidify the quarterback position, right? Coming off of Geno Smith.
Your boy Milroe.
However, I don't think this will be a season for Milroe, right? Yeah. I think Darnold's going to have the full reign this year to see what happens. But here's what I say: I think Seattle starts off better than normal, but I think they're going to fade off because I think Darnold is just not the guy, right? I think he's signed a big deal, right? So he's going to be there this year. They got a new offensive coordinator there in Seattle. Obviously, they changed up the wide receiver room in a big way, but I think they'll start off stronger and they'll fade at the end. So I've got them at 21 with about, again, 7 or 8 wins in that neighborhood. In my view, I think next year is time for my guy Milroe. I don't think this year Milroe leads the field unless there's an injury.
Gotcha. Ramon, number 21.
21, I got the Seattle Seahawks at 21. All right, so we kind of think alike. I think the Seahawks return a pretty strong defense. I think most of the people are coming back from a unit that was ranked pretty high statistically last year. So I think they'll be strong defensively. I think Sam Darnold can be a very good quarterback. I don't think he's the answer, but I think that if your offense coordinator is creative enough and you get some Milroe's packages in, now you switch it up a little bit. Now Sam becomes a little bit more, harder to defend because now you're seeing a couple different looks. So I think that they could be a pretty good team. I think they're a middle of a road team that's going to be competitive, going to knock off some teams that are in the chase, but they're not going to be in the chase.
Gotcha. All right, we're at number 20. So at number 20, I've got the Miami Dolphins at number 20. I think I've just kind of, it kind of feels like, I kind of feel the way I feel about Miami is kind of the same way I feel about Buffalo. I feel like I've just kind of seen this already with Miami. Their head coach is this mastermind, apparently. I say that sarcastically, by the way. I kind of, yeah, they've got the two speedy receivers, Hill and Waddle, but I'm kind of over it. I mean, I'm going to draft Hill for fantasy purposes. But other than that, Miami's not a serious contender. Sorry, Darren, because I know this is Darren's favorite team. But I'm just not super high on the Dolphins. I've seen this thing. I mean, if they have to go play Kansas City in January, if they have to go play anyone where it's cold in January, you can count them out immediately. Like they have to win their division for me to even think of them as contenders. Because if they have to go play anywhere cold, they're not going to win. So I just don't have any belief in Miami. Out of respect for the weapons that they have, they're at 20. But if it were me, I think they could be lower on my list for sure. But I have them at 20 because unlike the other teams on this roster, they're a little more. They've got a lot of weapons and they've got all the pieces to put it together. I feel like, but they usually just underperform for the most part. So I'm gonna put them at 20.
I got him at 20 as well. It matters if the quarterback stays healthy, right? So, this could go from 20th to be maybe 29th or maybe 20th to 15th, depending on the health of Tua. And with that said, their coach this season has some negative press going on finally for once. And I think this is a make or break opportunity. Not saying that he's going to get fired after this season, but this is an opportunity. You go into the season with a stronger Tua. HN's healthy. You got your speed receivers there, right? And then you made a little bit of a trade. You brought Minka Fitzpatrick back from the Steelers, right? He's going to solidify that defensive backfield. He's not going to talk a lot like the player they traded back to Pittsburgh, but he's going to play. And I think if in fact Tua stays healthy, plays 16 out of 17 games, I think they're about a 9-win team. And to your point, they're going to struggle. And the winter, Miami's always struggled for years playing in the cold. That won't change anything. So, yeah, them winning the division or having a home playoff game is going to be important for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they roll out 10 wins this season in South Florida.
Ramon, 20.
Yeah, this is kind of hard for me. This next pick, man, because I don't know if I believe in it or not. It's kind of like they fell in this position due to other people. But I got number 20. We're at 20, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not big on them because of the quarterback position. Uh, but everything else I think I may like. I like the upgrades of the offensive line. I like the defensive team. I like the head coach. I like the receivers coach. I like the draft of the tight end. I like what they did.
Hmm.
I just don't like the guy pulling the trigger. I don't think he's the answer. And so that's kind of throws me off a little bit. But for the most part, I think that they've done a good job of building that team, building that ball club, solidifying your head coach, your GM, etc., and all the pieces around Caleb. Uh, but if Caleb doesn't do it this year, they got to start thinking about going into a different direction.
Interesting. Interesting. All right.
Already?
No.
You think so already?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and this
Okay.
and this is why I think so. Okay, I think that there's some things that you could take a look at and say, okay, I'll give a kid more time. But I think that if he's off track, off script, holding on to the ball too long, running around, getting off receivers, can't progress through his progression, it's time to move on.
Okay. That's interesting.
Interesting.
If they did that, that's after 2 years. Ooh, they
Yeah.
could. It is Chicago, so
People
changing
will.
things about.
But
People will
here, here,
call. People
here
will call so quick.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Why I say it's not too soon. Like if I'm a new head coach, how long do I stay with a quarterback who I didn't go get?
Ah, good point. Good point.
You're not my guy. So am I going to stay here and look bad for 2 years in my offense and you're not my guy?
Mm.
I'm gonna go get my guy. And I think that whenever you have a quarterback change or we have a head coach change, that quarter you better get something. You better get a match where those guys match up together well. Because if not, somebody got to go.
Yeah. Yep. I don't disagree with that at all. We are moving on to number 19. This is my last team that I think will lose their division. They'll be dead last. At number 19, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I don't remember where I had the Rams last year. So last year I had the Rams, what is that? I had them at 15. So I have them dropping about 4 spots here. I think losing Cooper Cup to Seattle is tough. I think he got worse because you bring in Devontae Adams. They're just I don't know. It's just not doing it for me, right? I think Stafford was pretty healthy last year. I don't really remember for sure. I think he was somewhat healthy. They almost, I mean, they made a pretty good run in the playoffs this year too. They almost beat Philadelphia in the snow. So I mean, they could definitely be better than what I have them ranked. It's just Stafford's pretty old. Devontae Adams isn't Devontae Adams. Sean McVay's a really good head coach. He's probably a top 5 head coach in some people's lists. I don't have the brain power at the moment to rank him, but he's definitely in the top 10. So for me, I've got the Rams at 19. I don't know, too many question marks for me about health and just other stuff.
Well, I've got the Rams higher than that, but we'll go into that when I get to them. But
Okay.
I've at 19, I've got Arizona Cardinals. The problem is, I just got on the wire that they just lost Sterling Thomas to an ACL injury. They're starting safety. He came out and got off the field yesterday and thought it was just a tweak, but it just reported that he's out for the season with a torn ACL. So that makes it tough for him. He's a hell of a player. But I would say this, but the reason why I was really liking him is because of the quarterback. I think that he has an opportunity. He's under his new deal. He's healthy now, and I think the young quarterback is going to play well in that division. Again, that division isn't not to be had. To that point, you got Seattle, San Francisco, and you've got the Rams. I think it's going to be a fairly evenly matched division. I've got Arizona at number 2 in that division, but I've got them at about 8 to 9 wins. But with that loss of Sterling Thomas, that's going to be tough for them. When you lose that type of a player in the defensive backfield in your back end, with the way everybody's passing in that division, think about the way San Francisco's those players, the Rams, and then you got Seattle. Yeah, that's going to be a challenge, but I've got them right there at 19. That's why I'm with Arizona Cardinals.
All right, Ramon, you're back up at
At
number
number 9,
19.
I got the Atlanta Falcons at number 19. I am a huge, huge Raheem Morris fan as an individual and as a coach. I like him. All right. I like the fact that how the organization is starting to build this team a little bit. I like they're going to be stronger defensively, invested into some young talent, some pass rushers. I like that. Uh, I like the change in quarterback, but I like how they're protecting them. Offensive line upgrades, pretty solid. Running back, very good. Tight end, very strong. So it's giving them outlets, check downs across the middle. They're putting them in a situation where you don't have to win this game. You don't have to lead. You have to lead us, but you don't have to put it all on your back. We got a good defense. We got good running back, tight end, stuff like that. So I like what they're building. So 19 to me fits well, especially I don't think that division is extremely strong. So that conference that division extremely strong. So I think they're going to fare well.
I've got Atlanta really high. Okay. At number 18, that is where we're at now. Number 18, I have the San Francisco 49ers. So I
Ooh.
I have the Niners low. They lost a lot of pieces this year. I have never been the biggest Brock Purdy guy. I think it was a lot of the weapons and the scheme for me on why Purdy is so great. I think we're gonna see. I don't think we're this is gonna be a rough year for Purdy. He doesn't have the weapons. I think it's gonna crumble for San Francisco this year, and I'm gonna have popcorn. And now that I'm 21, I may even drink some alcohol while I watch them get blown out by teams this year. and watch Brock Purdy throw picks. So I'm excited to watch the 49ers finally be mediocre for once in the last couple of seasons. They've lost a lot of pieces. If I'm taking all bias out of it, they've lost a lot of pieces. I've never been the biggest Brock Purdy is this like great quarterback. I think it was the weapons around him. They still have a really good head coach, but for me, I think the Niners, a lot of question marks for me right now. They're solidified at quarterback, but I think everything else is shaky for sure.
I got those boys. I've got Dallas Cowboys at 18. They're just below mediocre, where they've always been. They've been the last few years. What I think about the Dallas Cowboys though is when you add another receiver to adding to your guy from Oklahoma. I think Dallas, and then they just signed Ferguson to that deal. So you've got a really good tight end. You've got two good receivers. You got Pickens, and you've got your guy from Oklahoma. Then you've got an offensive line. You draft Tyler Booker in the first round.
It,
He's a rock solid guy
it's still a
as a
shaky O
guard.
line.
As a guard, right? Better though, right? Better than because they lost Zach Martin to retirement, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a guy who's going to come in and play. But again, I think Dak gets a lot of hate, and I understand why because he hasn't won the big game and he's in Dallas. But Zach's a good quarterback.
No, he
That's
is.
Zach. Dak's a good quarterback, and I think that if he's coming back healthy, ready to play, Micah Parsons is going to ball out on the defensive end. I think Dallas is going to surprise a couple of people. I'm not saying they're going to be better than Washington or Philly, but it would not surprise me. I've got them right now. I got them at 9 wins. I got them at 9-8 right now, but it could change, with health and injuries and how those two receivers, match up, right? Because Pickens is a big dude. Pickens is about 6'3", and he can run. So I wouldn't be surprised, man, that Dallas surprises some people. But again, they're going to be middle of the pack. They're going to be Dallas. Cowboys are going to Cowboys at some point.
Yep. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Ramon, who you got at 18?
Got them Cowboys. What
Okay.
about them girls? I got those guys. Got the girls
I
at
find it
number
very
18.
ironic that I had the Niners here and then you guys counteract with Dallas. The
Yeah,
irony that's very great. That's
that's what you
awesome.
get. Now, I think that, I want to see how this offensive line turns out first before I say
So
anything
do
about
I.
the Dallas Cowboys. And honestly, I think they have one of the most talented wide receiver rooms in football. I also think they got a volatile wide receiver room in football. So, offensive line
It
doesn't do
depends on who's
well.
happy, right?
Yep. Offensive line don't do well. Zach can't hit. Dak can't hit certain people. It could explode quickly, and then the
Yeah.
big man is coming down to the sideline. So it's one of those things where it could be really, really nice, or it could be really, 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 really bad.
Or Fox is gonna pan to the suite that Jerry Jones is sitting in. So
Exactly.
we'll definitely we'll see how it goes. I've got the Cowboys basically in the same spot I had them in last year. We're getting down to our last two teams before we go to part two and end part one. We're at number 17, and at number 17, I have the Seattle Seahawks at number 17. I think Cooper Kupp is still he's coming out of his prime, but I think he's still better than what Devontae Adams will bring to LA. I think the Seahawks could be really decent. I think they could win the division. If you look, the last three teams I've had are NFC West teams, right? So I had the Rams losing the division, the Niners in third, and the Seahawks in second. So that could be interchangeable. These three teams could be interchangeable for sure. But I really do like Seattle. That defense, it's not the Legion of Doom or Legion of Boom, but it's a very good defense, right? Some could say great. The defense is really good. The offense could be good. We'll see how Darnold plays. He doesn't have the best receiver in football now, but he does have Cooper Kupp, who played very well last year for the Rams. So I'm curious to see how the Seahawks do, because the only reason the Rams got rid of him was because of cap space. That's why they got rid of him. So Coop can still bring a lot to the table. Cooper Kupp can bring a lot to the table. So I've got the Seahawks at 17. They'll be second in the division. So I'm curious what you guys think, because you guys know that means who I have winning the division, but we'll get there when we get there. Daryl, who you got at 17?
I've got 17 Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to be right in the middle of the pack. You lose Najee Harris for nothing. And yeah, you got Jalen Warren who broke out and played well last year, but he wasn't the lead guy. He was that change of pace. Steelers don't have that guy anymore, and Jalen Warren is going to be your starter now, right? Yeah, you add Metcalf, but my concern is what does your quarterback do, right? We've seen the last couple of years where it's a lot of talk and a lot of this and that. He doesn't have any of his favorite guys with him. His coach that he brought to Jets with him, not there. His receiver, not there. How does he play with a coach that is about is kind of a no nonsense guy and is not going to allow you to kind of run the show?
Would you
Mike Tomlin has as much cachet as any NFL quarterback, any NFL coach right now. And this quarterback is going to see that. I think it's going to be a challenge for him. But then the flip side on the defensive end, the reason why I think they're going to be right there, because we love the Watt brothers, right? I think Watt is on a decline. He signed that big 3-year deal. Yeah, he had some injuries last year, but I believe that his production is going to drop again. And I think the Steelers are going to be looking for an out after year one with Mr. Watt. I think this is going to be a down year for him individually. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be third in their division.
Would you agree, Rodgers? I think Rodgers has he's in a way better O-line here. I think, like, I have them really low, but I agree with you. I think this could definitely be, the spot that they're in come this season. He's definitely in a better situation, right, with Rodgers. I think Rodgers is in a better situation.
Leadership, because the leadership, yeah.
Yeah, he could play way better. I have him very low, but I think that's just a matter of, I kind of agree with you. I don't know if Watt's going to be like tremendously. I don't know if he takes a dip, but I I don't know.
He's only taken a dip the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
I've never seen an edge rusher have two lesser years, then all of a sudden jump up unless he starts taking some type of a performance enhancing help. So I'm not saying the guy's a bum or he's just done. I just think he's 30. I think he'll be 31 when the season starts.
Ramon, number 17.
Number 17, I have the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
At number 17. Offensively, I love their wide receiver room. Marv, I love Marv. Mike Wilson, very good. Greg Dortch out of Wake Forest, small little guy, real shifty. I think they did some improvements on defense, got stronger. Only thing that I see that keeping them from being a higher team is the quarterback, Kyler Murray. But I don't think he's consistent. I got to see more consistent play out of him. If he plays consistent, they're a playoff team and can be dangerous. If not, they look knocking on the door but can't get in. So, that's my view on the Cardinals.
All right, we're down to our last team here in part one. And my last team in part one at number 16 is the Chicago Bears. I do like Chicago this year. I've said it on the pod. I said it literally in our last recording. I think they have the best offseason out of all the teams in the NFL this year. I think they got the best option at head coach, the number one guy other than Vrabel. I think him and Vrabel are interchangeable there when it came to like the best hires this offseason. I really like Chicago. There's already been reports that Williams is not doing well in this system, in this Ben Johnson system. So that's kind of why I was going to put them higher, but then those reports started coming out, so I dropped them pretty much to about the same spot last year. So last year I had the Bears at 18. I've put them up 2 spots here at 16. I think the Bears could be really good. I think they could win the division, maybe, but I think that's also a stretch, right? Green Bay's really good. Detroit, I think, is probably one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. I think Chicago has a shot, but it is going to come down to like Ramon said, it's going to come down to Caleb Williams and how he plays, because he has all the weapons in the world, and that defense is really good. He has no excuse. We'll see how he does heading into this year. Daryl, who do you have at 16?
I like Tampa Bay, man. I think Tampa Bay has one of the best receiver rooms in the league with the rookie they got from Ohio State. I can't pronounce his name, Omika Obukwa. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But here's the thing for me. I like Bucky Irvin in the backfield. He took over last year for Rashard White. Bucky Irving makes you miss, right? And then you got a confident Baker Mayfield. They've got an offensive group that you don't know where the ball's going. And listen, I wasn't a Baker Mayfield fan when he was in college. I didn't, think he should have been the number one pick in Cleveland. But I'm gonna tell you, the dude's playing with confidence. And what I see about Baker Mayfield, man, his teammates love him. You see him on the sideline, and it's not fake.
Baker. I've always liked Baker.
It doesn't look fake to me. It looks like, hey, you're our guy, right? And if that's the case, man, don't be surprised if Tampa Bay makes a lot of noise and 9 or 10 wins, because who do you on that offense? Bucky Irving as your starter, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, he's coming off of injury, and then you got Amika, and then Kate Otten is your tight end, who's a very serviceable tight end. And Baker Mayfield is not a pedestrian quarterback. Yeah, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he's going to get out of tough situations. So, that's kind of my surprise team. I think they're gonna do much better than many said, and I think I've got them at 10 wins this year.
All right. So that is Ramon. Sorry, I almost forgot. Go ahead. Number 16.
16. Your boy got the Minnesota Vikings at 16.
Okay.
They're strong in the trenches, man. Offense, defensive line, they are very, very strong and dominant. And that's where you have to be. The problem is, I'm not sure what JJ is going to do. If JJ would have been a second-year guy right now, they probably would have been a lot higher. If they'd have kept my man at quarterback, they'd probably be a lot higher, because they are very strong offensively and defensively where it counts, the trenches.
Gotcha. All right. Well, fellas, we got 16 teams down. We got 15 more to go when we come back for part number 2. Very different list. There were some teams that, that some of us haven't said yet. There's some teams I haven't said yet. So I'm curious to see how the rest of our lists are going to look. So when we come back, we've got part 2 of our NFL Power Rankings right here on the Game Time Podcast.